Hello folks and welcome. My name is Jacob and I'll be leading today's voice broadcast webinar. In this webinar, you're going to learn how to do 4 things. You're going to learn how to create an account on CallFire's website. You're also going to learn how to create your first voice broadcast campaign. You'll then learn how to send out those phone calls. And lastly, you will learn how to view the reporting and the analytics. So to create an account, it's really easy. We'll hover our mouse over sign up for free and press on sign up for free. Notice over here, there are these billing plans. Let's spend about 30 seconds talking about pricing. There are 2 ways to play here. You can either go with our basic plan where you're just paying as you go. Think of it like riding a subway or a bus. The only time where you have to actually pay that subway fee or that bus fee for that ride is anytime you actually ride the bus or ride the subway. Likewise with CallFire, under the basic plan, the only time that you would pay for the services are when you actually use them. Now the advantage though of these billing plans that you see up here are that they give you a much more aggressive per minute rate depending on the billing plan you sign up for. And the most optimal time to sign up for a billing plan is when you know that you're going to be using, in the case of the Lite, a minimum of 1,000 or more text messages or voice broadcast messages a month. That's when it makes sense to jump from the basic plan to one of those billing plans over there. And if your volumes in terms of calls per month, I will redo that. Or if your anticipated usage is going to exceed, I would say, 20,000 calls a month, you can check out these higher volume plans over here, which definitely should cater to your needs. And of course, if there are any billing plans here that might need a bit of tweaking, don't hesitate to give us a shout at that number here, and we will go ahead and take care of you. So I'll go ahead and press check out other plans, and I'll press try it for free. And then I would fill out this form. I'm going to go ahead though and log into my account that I've already created. And here I am. I now see this wonderful little help screen. So to create my first voice broadcast campaign, I will press the red button that says Make Calls. And the first thing that I need to do is to configure the sound files that I'd like CallFire to play in each scenario. I'm going to go ahead and first enable the transfer option. So let's come up with a use case. Let's say that, for example, I work at an insurance agency, and my goal is to send out a voice broadcast campaign to all of my customers who are delinquent and making a payment on their policy. So I'm going to go ahead and record some messages, or maybe use one of our recording means to upload messages conveying that my policyholders need to make a payment on their policy to avoid my agency canceling their policies. A couple of notes about the voice broadcast product, specifically regarding the legality of that product. According to the current FTC laws, anytime that a business wants to send a pre-recorded message to a household or to a consumer, it is important that that business have some semblance or form of opt-in consent prior to the delivery of that pre-recorded message. Now, if you're making business-to-business phone calls with our voice broadcast product, you're in the clear. You don't need to worry about consent. Or if you're a political group, a religious group, or not-for-profit, you're also in the clear as well. At the end of the day, it never hurts to consult with your local attorney or legal advisor if you're ever in question or unsure whether or not your scenario is kosher under the eyes of the FTC and the FCC. So to record a message, pretty straightforward. For the live answer scenario, I'll go ahead and press select a message. I'll go ahead and then press create a new message. And there are 3 ways to play here. I can upload an audio file that I've recorded, an MP3 or WAV file. If you do that, make sure that you record that file in the following format, and that format is 16-bit, 8 kilohertz mono. Again, that file format needs to be 16-bit, 8 kilohertz mono. I can also record via phone. Here at CallFire, we go by the Hollywood principle. In other words, don't call us, we'll call you. If I choose that option, I'll type in my phone number on the computer screen. CallFire will then call my phone. I can then record that message there. Or I can utilize text-to-speech, and our text-to-speech voices sound like sexier versions of Stephen Hawking, no offense to the great man that he is. I'll go ahead and do that real quick. I'll go ahead and use, whose voice? I'll use Roger's voice. Let's go ahead and paste some text-to-speech and stuff there. So there's my live answer message. So I've said, hi there, this is the Val and Tyne Insurance Agency with a reminder that you're delinquent on making a payment on your policy. Failure to make a payment will result in immediate cancellation of your policy. Press 1 to take care of this immediately, or press 8 to opt out. Now notice that in my live answer message, I tell folks to press 1 to be transferred or press 8 to opt out. It's very important that I tell folks to do that in my live answer message, otherwise they won't know to press 1 or to press 8. And at the end of the day, they can press any digit 1 through 9 for either action. It's standard that in most calls that you tell folks to press 1 as the transfer option and then 8 or 9 is the option opt out. But at the end of the day, you can choose whatever number you'd like, 0 through 9 to your heart's content, or 1 through 9, I believe, to your heart's content. I'll press accept. And again, if you're curious what those voices actually sound like, I'll send a test call so you can hear them. Next thing that we need to do is record our message for answering machines. When we're recording our message for answering machines, we do not need to tell folks to press 1 in the message, nor do we need to tell them they can press 8 or some other digit to opt out. The reason being is because when somebody is listening to that message on their answering machine, guess what? There's no longer an active phone line in the background. So if they tried frantically to press 1 or tried pressing 8 to be added to the do not call list in this case, nothing would happen. So when you're recording your message for answering machines, just make sure that you, in your call to action, that you tell folks just to call you back at some number. So again, same process. I'll press select a message. I'll create a new message. Again, I'll use text to speech. This time we'll go with Beth, and let me copy paste that message. Accept. Now it's appended. Now I'll go ahead and record my transfer message. My transfer message is going to be more of an acknowledgement message. So something that would sound like, hey, thanks for pressing 1. You'll be transferred shortly. So again, I'll press select a message, create a new message. Again, I'll use text to speech, and I'll just copy paste some text over here. Now, there are a few more things we need to configure in the transfer scenario. I've already told CallFire to look for the digit of 1 before playing that message. That way it knows to play that message. Max transfers refers to the total number of transferred calls CallFire will accept at any given time before pausing the campaign. So for example, let's say at the Val and Tyne Agency, I only have 2 people who can take incoming phone calls. In that case, I'd set max transfers to 2, meaning that as soon as 2 people have pressed the 1 button to be transferred, not consecutively, CallFire pauses the campaign and only resumes the broadcast once one of those lines is free. The transfer number will be the number that CallFire transfers those calls to. I'll just make this, for the purpose of this webinar, the CallFire toll-free number. Last thing I need to do on this page is record the do not call message. Like the transfer message, this is an acknowledgement message that confirms that someone has pressed 8 and they're now on my do not call list. I'll press select a message. Again, create a new message, text to speech. Perfect. So now I'll go ahead and send a test call so you all can hear what these messages sound like. So I need to verify a new number. So CallFire actually verifies that you own the number that you want to send these test calls to. So now CallFire is going to call my phone. There's CallFire calling my phone. Hello.
Number is 7005. If we reach you an error, please press 8.
Press verify. Hang on my phone. Now I'll go ahead and send a test call. Here we go. Hello.
There. This is the Valentine Insurance Agency with a reminder that you're delinquent on making a payment on your policy. Failure to make a payment will result in immediate cancellation of your policy. Press 1 to take care of this immediately or press 8 to opt out.
Okay, I'll go ahead and press 1. We'll just hear the transfer message.
Thanks for pressing 1. You will be transferred shortly.
Thank you for calling CallFire.
Perfect. So that's exactly what I wanted to have happen. So I'll go ahead and close out that X. I like the way all those messages sound. And I'll go ahead and press the green next button. Now the next thing that we need to do is to tell CallFire who we want to send these calls to. So there are 5 ways to play here. I could upload a spreadsheet. I could choose a list that I've already added to my CallFire account. I could simply add one-off contacts to my CallFire account to send that message to. I could also generate a list of folks to send this message to, or these messages to, based off calls and texts that I've made in previous campaigns, or I can just copy and paste from a text source. I'll go ahead and upload a list. Now CallFire takes me through the phone number validation process. I'll go ahead and manually name the columns. All this looks fine. Right now, CallFire can only dial to the numbers that are specified in the home phone number column. So even if you're calling folks on their cell phones or on some other phone line, make sure that whatever number you want CallFire to actually call in the campaign can go to their home phone, or has a designation of home phone. Eventually, we will be putting in logic that allows you to specify rules such as try someone at their home phone first. If they don't pick up at their home phone, then try them at the work phone or their mobile. So I'll go ahead and press continue. CallFire will be validating the rest of my numbers to make sure there's no duplicates or there's none that are also in my own account's do not call list based on previous calls that I've made. Looks like we're almost finished. Great, I'll agree to the terms of service, and I'll press continue. Great, so there are 3 numbers that are eligible to receive calls. I know this because in the description it says 3 remaining, so I'll press next. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give my campaign a name. By default, the name will always be the product that I'm creating, followed by the date and time I started to build the campaign. So I will call this campaign My First Voice Broadcast. I can also label my campaign. So for example, let's say that I also have other voice broadcasts to remind folks about the claims center number after an emergency. So maybe I could add a label for this campaign for delinquent calls. That way, just like in an email client, like in Gmail or an Outlook, I can add labels to different kinds of emails. I can do that as well with CallFire. Caller ID will be the phone number that CallFire displays on my policyholders' phones when they take my calls. I'll go ahead and select my business number over there. Local time dialing restrictions is a really powerful feature. Let's say that I have such a large insurance agency or I run such a large business that I have clients who live all over the United States, meaning I have folks who live on the West Coast and the East Coast. It would be really awkward if I sent calls to folks on the West Coast before 8 a.m. and it would be just as awkward if I sent calls to my customers on the East Coast after 9 p.m. So think of local time dialing restrictions kind of like your boundaries for when it's appropriate for CallFire to send out calls. Local time dialing restrictions, however, is not a scheduling tool. There's already a built-in feature for that down below, which we'll get into in a second. But again, think of local time dialing restrictions, should you choose to activate it, as a tool to set the boundaries for when it's appropriate for CallFire to send out calls. So I'll leave this the way it is. Max simultaneous calls refers to the total number of attempted calls CallFire will broadcast out a minute. 100 means 100 attempted calls a minute. Now remember, because I only have 2 telemarketers in my insurance office who can take incoming calls, I might want to slow the broadcast speed down to something more pedestrian, say 10 calls a minute. So I'll just type in 10 and I'm all set. CallFire also has this awesome built-in automatic retry logic where I can tell CallFire after several passes, or I can specify a number of dialed attempts to redial certain numbers that meet certain criteria. So for example, if I checked off busy and no answer, under this setup right here, I'm telling CallFire to dial only the numbers that come back with a status of busy or no answer up to 2 times and wait 1 hour between each try. And then I could have CallFire pass through attempt to dial numbers up to 5 times. I can also add a schedule to my campaign so that it starts at a later date or time. I can also have it resume the next day if unfinished. Why would I want to do this? Well, because local time dialing restrictions might have kicked in, and so I might want to have CallFire finish off broadcasting those calls once we're back inside of the eligible boundaries for when CallFire can send out phone calls. To add a schedule, it's easy. I just go to set schedule. I can include a start date and a time. I can also include a stop date and time as well if need be. I'll go ahead and agree to the terms of service. And I'll start this campaign manually. Press finalize. Go to view results. And I started the campaign, just go to the upper left where it says stopped, press start, and now those calls are going out. I have this fun little accelerometer showing me how fast the calls are going out. I have a fun heat map showing me where all my calls are going out as well, or what proportion of a city or even area all my calls are concentrated in. Go to call records, I can see all the calls that I've uploaded. Go to visualize, I can see on a heat map where all my calls are concentrated. Go to contacts, you can see the numbers uploaded there. I can change my settings on the fly if I need to. And again, anytime I make a change with the campaign, I always need to press that green apply button. I can also change out my sound files too. And as you can now see, my campaign is finished. I see the status of each of my calls. Looks like each of those calls went to an answering machine. And I also see a timestamp as well as when those calls went out. Again, we're looking right now actually at a different campaign that I created just so I can show you what the reporting looks like. And I also see the duration as well. And again, all of this can be exported out of CallFire as a CSV file or an Excel file. Anytime that you ever need help with doing anything in CallFire, you can always go to the help icon right over there at the top. And that brings up our wonderful and robust help documentation. So to review what we learned today, we learned how to create an account on callfire.com, learned how to create our first voice broadcast campaign, learned how to send out those phone calls, and then lastly, we learned how to understand the reporting and the analytics that in fact CallFire provides. I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to watch this webinar. We know that you have many choices when it comes to evaluating vendors like CallFire, so thanks for lending your eyes and of course your ears to us. And again, thanks for watching.